Welcome to PNN KXU, Pope People's Revolutionary Radio on 96.1 FM on the dial in Oakland and streaming live online at www.pomagazine.org/radio. This is D, your co-host, formerly houseless poverty scholar, Pope poet and resident of homefulness in Poe Magazine studio with Poe Magazine Pope poet and formerly houseless poverty scholars Tani and Mutiato.
How is terrorizing children not illegal? How is evicting a 100-year-old black elder not illegal? How is kidnapping a teenager while he walks his dog not illegal? How is grabbing a baby out of a mama's arm not illegal? How is putting a 3-year-old alone in a metal cage with hundreds of other children not illegal? How is stepping on a man's neck when he says he can't breathe not illegal? How is poisoning the only water source of thousands of children and elders not illegal? How is running over elders with a backhoe while they are sleeping outside not illegal? How is ICE and police and hate and extraction and eviction not illegal?
100 Montgomery here today, showing immigrants that they're welcome in our city and ICE that they're not.
Okay, and this is in Occupied Yalamo, aka so-called San Francisco.
Yeah.
What's been happening here?
Yeah, so this court, 100 Montgomery, is where immigrants show up to have their regular check-ins for immigration. A lot of them are seeking asylum, so they're in the process for getting that asylum approved. And yeah, tons of immigrants come here every day. And we're out here having a presence where we distribute resources to them. We can even help accompany them upstairs. And we're out here every single Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And yeah, anybody can be a part of this. And every so often, when ICE does show up, we're here to do what we can to protect our neighbors in our community. But yeah, this really works. Since we've shown up, ICE has stopped showing up, and the abductions have gone way down. So this is really working. So yeah.
And the only other thing is I heard that things got so-called violent because, of course, they're armed agents of the states. The violence is coming from them.
Absolutely.
Right. We're peacefully trying to just be here and protect relatives. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. Last Wednesday was the latest confrontation where, we were here providing a protective presence, like I mentioned. And in the morning, they came and they started aggressing protesters. There's some people right here that are doing accompaniment, and we have signs that says hey, if you have an appointment, we can accompany you and stuff. They immediately started coming through our door, and on their way pepper sprayed people that were just here and brutalizing them. And then later, when they abducted someone and left the court, they used pepper bullets at people right in that intersection. And then they used pepper spray on another protester and a reporter when they were on their way to the other location. But yeah, it's so brutal the way that they escalate their violence, and it goes to show how desperate they are, that they have to resort to that violence because they're so, I don't know, they're so unprepared for us and for us being here.
For human beings.
Absolutely.
Human, right?
They don't expect people to resist all the atrocities that they're doing.
But
we're here.
Much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh my dear.
You just heard Pope People's Radio interview with warriors standing up to the colonial terror that is ICE. Kidnapping children and families because of the folks' border terror. To join the Bay Area resistance, come to 100 Montgomery Street, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. From ICE sweeps to our houseless bodies being swept. On today's Pope People's Radio podcast, we speak with houseless/formerly houseless poverty scholars from other parts of Turtle Island who are facing and fighting the same violent anti-Pope People's violence we deal with here. Welcome in comrade member of the Western Regional Advocacy Project, RAP, and Poe Magazine Extended Family, Adam. In addition, we will speak with Elder, formerly houseless poverty scholar, now homeful at homefulness, self-described hobo, Uncle Francis. who comes with the spirit of aloha and the islands of Hawaii, with his story of Sister Warrior Twinkle, who built and fought for houseless peoples getting land in occupied Hawaii. All that and more.
Yeah, so you listening to PNN, not CNN, people. That's Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. And I'm holding a lot of grief today, because who isn't in this moment? I'm sure you all feel me. We have the blessing of being part of this warrior contingent called Western Regional Advocacy Project. And shout out to RAP and Paul and all the other warriors, Joe May and others, who held basically a poor people's convening last week, and we had the moment to sit with other warriors in this struggle, which unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that the war on the poor is across occupied Turtle Island and beyond. And it's really, it's in differing states of horrible, going to terror on any given day. But you already know that because you hear from us every day. And it's the same thing here. And nothing new under the settler's sun. But we have the blessing of having a brother warrior, a longtime extended family member of poor, from now hearkening from the Human Right to Housing Collective in occupied Squaxin or Nishnawbe, other territories, Pacific Northwest Turtle Island. Adam, welcome back to Poor People's Radio.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me back. Free them all. Power to the people.
Oh, that's what's up. So, Adam, tell us. I know you're in this place that the settlers call Shoreline. Some other towns up there. Can you tell us?
I'm in. So we're working in a place called Everett, which is a little further north of Shoreline.
Gotcha.
You know, yeah.
Tell all listeners and viewers what the mess is that you all are dealing with up there, and some of the anti-poor people laws that they've put in place.
Well, Everett has, in my mind, upped the ante. You know, I spent a lot of time working in Skid Row, and you know, Los Angeles was never able to push back because they had places like LA Can. I mean, so the city was never really able to carry out their plans to put put such draconian laws in place. Even though those laws are draconian, you had a people's backstop. Everett, unfortunately, has not had that before, really. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work in Everett, but not necessarily that piece. So what Everett has is a law called, it's 13.94. That's their sit-lie law. Their sit-lie law goes even beyond most no sit no lie laws. It actually criminalizes people trying to help people on the street. So if you're out there feeding people, or if you're out there just giving people blankets or handing out things on public property, you can literally be subject to a misdemeanor simply for doing that. That's their no sit no lie law.
Wow. And this is, so first of all, I mean, I guess the bigger question or the similar question would be that you have a lot of houseless relatives up there who need resources, which is why people would support them, right? And
yeah.
What's the conditions? What's going on with houseless relatives up there? Like what? Is there shelters? Is there all kinds of transitional housing? Is there what's going on?
Well, I mean, you know, people would say, sure, they would say that, but they would be lying their asses off. Okay. Are we on the radio? Could I cut? Okay, I'm trying not to cuss. So, you know, like I put it like this. So in the city of Everett, which has a population of 100,000 people, according to their point in time count, there was 394 people houseless. We've been doing a little survey in Everett for the last like 8-9 months. We have spoken to almost 500-600 people that are houseless, and that's just like 4 of us walking around randomly in the city. So, you know, like it's kind of nuts. And it's become, as it usually is. We also have something similar to Newsom's care courts. but it's not as direct, and I think it's a little more ingrained into actual police policy. So people will be forcibly detained, but they are limited to a 5150. So you got 72 hours to hold those people. You know, it's not like Newsom's thing that he put into place. You know, because he's, you know, blue MAGA will screw you just as good as red MAGA. But you know, so for real, you know, I mean, his is what, up to 2 years. You know, this they can only hold you for so long, and then, you know, they put people out. There is no housing. They're like, well, we're going to connect you with a housing navigator. Right on. There's 2 housing navigators for the entirety of Snohomish County, which is where Everett is. You know. So, and I mean, so it's sort of a suburb of Seattle. When you get into King County, where Seattle is, of course, it's exponentially worse. You're talking about 50,000 people on the streets, admitted by the government. So you might as well just double that. You know, I mean, and that's where all the resources are. But as usual, with a service approach to homelessness, as opposed to a systematic dismantling of capitalist greed. It's a Band-Aid on a big bullet wound.
That exactly, which they continue to infect. Can you tell listeners and viewers about this thing called the buffer zone and somewhere called Shoreline?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No. They Shoreline is actually holding out. I apologize. I think when we were in person, I said Shoreline because that's where Jade is from. But the buffer zones is an Everett thing.
Okay.
Shoreline is interesting. Don't get me wrong. They have the same sort of progressive mayor and city council that are very concerned about people being on the streets, but they're just concerned about being on the streets. They're not concerned about the housing and food and, you know, access to medical care part. Yeah. But Everett, so Everett lost a court case on their original sit-lie zone about 10 years ago. And it actually was, they had to put in a no camping ordinance in the entire city that was defeated in court. So just like a lot of the laws that y'all have fought for in Cali are just stuck that way because they've already went through the court system. It doesn't matter what Trump or anybody else says. You know, that's sort of here as well. So what they did is they created buffer zones. So in the buffer zone, it's a no sit, no lie zone. The cops will come and mess with you if you're sitting on the street, or if you look homeless, you know, or if you're not white and well dressed, and they will tell you to move along. If you're like, hey man, I'm just here, they will threaten you with arrest, trespassing. I mean, we talked to 98 people. 98 people were kindly enough to fill out our survey out of Everett, and each and every one of them, anecdotally at least, said that they were told that they were trespassing even though they were sitting on public property. Wow. You know, I believe I apologize. I should have had that fact sheet out. I didn't know he was getting deep. I'm sorry, my sister. I was running back and forth dropping off the kids. But no, it's I think it's 68% of people had experienced a sweep. You know, wow. And in that sweep, of course, we included police coming up and just saying, "Now you got to go, bro. You got to go, or you're going to get arrested." That of those people, all of those 68%, all of them were either threatened with arrest or citation. Wow. And a lot of them were arrested. So the buffer zones, I apologize, I tracked off. The buffer zones were put in place, and they were originally 3 small zones of about 6 blocks apiece. Last year, the city council granted the mayor the power to declare a buffer zone without it having to go through process of going through city council and actually having public comment on it. That was their way to avoid public input. Wow. So the mayor, Cassie Franklin, who used to run a place called Cocoon House, which was a youth homeless transitional home, you know. So that's her nonprofit industrial complex cred to show that she cares. But so she
that's a deeply expensive sounding name for a halfway house.
I mean, it's not even a halfway house. It's an organization like for youth to get in, and the housing rate is not great. It's and that's a lot of problem with youth programs in general. It's like, okay, up until you're 24, they got you, and then after that, sorry, I know your life was messed up. Yeah, we didn't really prepare you for a job, but have fun on the streets.
Exactly.
But yeah, my fault. So they gave her the power to declare these zones, and so she expanded them throughout downtown, and they've been it's sort of like a trifecta of ordinances. So they also have an ordinance downtown that you can't be a service provider in the downtown area, that they've used specifically in only one case to attack an organization called Hope and Wellness, which refused to take money from the city. They funded themselves through peer support with Medicare. So they didn't have to listen to all the BS, so they could actually run a no barrier day center. People could just come in, get something to drink. And if they wanted to get hooked up with resources, that's cool, because we got resources right here. It's a beautiful place. And the mayor spent about a year attacking them simply because of their location. And not simply, because now they've moved to a new location and she's still attempting to attack them.
Wow.
But but that's sort of the weirdness in it. It's because they kind of refuse to go along with the BS. Great organization. If y'all get a chance up here or look it up, Hope and Wellness, good people. But these buffer zones, and I apologize, I know so the buffer zones are also where there's not a buffer zone, there is a stay out of drug area zone or a stay out of prostitution zone. And how those work, if you get a ticket or you get charged, automatically you're banned from the area where you live.
What?
Oh yeah. They don't have those in Oakland.
Wow. No, not particularly.
We do not.
Oh shoot! They just put them back in Seattle. They just put them back in, and they've had them in Everett for at least 2 years.
So the encampment management ban, I mean, it's all some politics or BS words, right?
Yeah.
These are all just ways of cordoning off poor and houseless people or kettling them so that we're all stuck in one area, right? That's a lie. That's a settler lie of racism and classism and these fake laws. But the thing that I'm tripping about is the way that they name this, right? So is there anywhere that relatives can be?
I mean, not really. Not during the day. Not where it's so. You got it. Everett is a pretty big city for northern Washington. It's 100,000 people. It extends about 20 miles. 15 miles up and down. Another 7 or 8 across. It's a decently big city. So it has. So you got North Everett is where all the service centers, all of that is. All of that is a buffer zone.
Wow.
All of that. So you can't go hang out and wait for the Salvation Army to open. You gotta show up, stand in line in the morning, and if you don't be able to get in to sleep somewhere, or you got to make that trip every day and then go hide in the woods or something.
Wow. See, this is the disappearance policy.
Yep.
Right. That I see coming across, and I'm not sure where we're supposed to go.
They want to. That's. I mean, our position is these are not these are not quality of life laws, because who's damn quality of life? But these are systemized murder. When you look at it, you're pushing people away from resources. You're pushing people away if they do use substances, which, I mean, on average in any city, including Everett, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, I believe as well. I mean, according even to the government, is like 30% of the population would use drugs or have a mental illness. To be a 10% crossover there. Everyone else is just screwed by capitalists. Yeah. And not to say that there should be a separation, but like you said, they like to divide and stick us into one place. I mean, and you said it right. I think it's a settler policy. I mean, look at what happened to our native family. Let's put you on reservations. Like, hey, you know what? You got oil. We want those reservations.
Unfortunately, mayors, no matter what city you live in, mayors tend to communicate with each other and get ideas of each other and how to deal with their most vulnerable, unhoused populations.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to go back a little bit for folks who don't understand the depth of this. That's how Desiree Quintero died. That's how Shanna Marie Bigley died. Because they were pushed to the outskirts of these settler towns to the point where there was nowhere for them to be except on the side of a freeway, 80 freeway. Shanna Marie Bigley, Iba Desiree Quintero pushed into the mountains of so-called Santa Cruz to the point where she was literally hit by a tree that fell on her.
Oh God.
Right? So we have to understand that these disappearing policies are literally, like you said, they're killing policies. We're running out of time, but I wanted to just bring in, because I think it's important, you know, Paul and others brought in the whole connection between the sundown towns and the lantern laws and all these, these racial stratifications, these Jim Crow laws that were used in all these towns to destroy relatives, enslaved Africans coming out of the, you know, chattel slavery, etc., as well as indigenous peoples. These aren't that different, fam. Any of you listeners, these are not different.
I don't think they're different at all. I mean, why do you think these crackers got such a problem with people teaching critical race theory? Because once they figure out a displacement and destruction plan that works, they don't want to stop using it. So they don't want us to know it. Exactly. You know, I mean, but I don't want to leave on like a sour note, you know, because we ain't defeated. Okay. I mean, these people are weak. They're paper tigers. They might have some guns, but this is America. They ain't stopped selling guns when they sold theirs. So, look.
So tell us what the resistance.
You know, so I mean, on our part, we're working with Seattle U, Sister Sarah Rankin, and she is opened a school of homeless law designed strictly around destroying these racist laws. You know, and so we're working closely with her to do a legal defense on property, which we're not going to get into openly. But once we spring it on these cats and they start crying, we'll be happy to come back and tell you all about it. And you know, what you could do here is what we're doing here in Everett, what we're doing in Seattle. You know, is just get your people together, like. That's what they count on. They count on us hating each other and thinking less of each other. That's why they separate us out amongst those who happen to use drugs and those who are straight, like anybody straight edge. Come on, you're living on the street. Like I know when I was on the street, I'm not staying in a tent sober. Sorry, but you know, like that's why they try to separate us like that, by race, by class, by anything that they can put in between us. You know. Like that's the strategy. It is important to study that critical race theory, because as I said, that is the blueprint for your oppression, even if your skin is white like mine.
Ashe. That's beautiful, Adam. We love you so much. And again, tell people how they can find you or support your movement up there again.
Well, I mean, you can find us on you can hit our website, which we're still sort of in the construction of. It's the human right. It's hrhcwa.org. It's hrhcwa.org. Or, you know, you could hit me up. I mean, if you down the road, hit me up. If you the police, I'm gonna hang up on your ass. But hit me up. 773-908-6283. That's 773-908-6283. Yes, I still have a Chicago number. I had that for 20 years. Too many people got that. Hit me up. Let's get going. Let's get moving. You know, because it's a different day and age. Don't fall for the okie doke. The devil's favorite disguise is black and brown face nowadays. You know, your people are who you're at class wise. You know, you love each other's differences and understand those and bring it together, because the one thing you got in common is stronger than all of that. And that's the fact that the capitalists got their heel on your throat.
Ashe. We love you, Adam. We will.
I love you too.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on. Bye. All power to the people. Peace to you if you're willing to fight for it.
All right. You're listening to Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. Again, we're blessed to be here on this small part of Unpimped, Unplayed, Unbought, Unsold Mama Earth that us poor folks call homefulness, a homeless people's solution to homelessness. That's how we can even do revolutionary radio like this and try to jump up in these digital streets on the ones and twos. And I'm here with my beautiful fellow poets, Poor Magazine Warriors, Dee Allen and Motiado Silencio. And we were just joined by one of our elder scholars, a self-described hobo. What does that even mean for the 21st century listeners? May not understand. That's not just something to say. It's an actual legacy of so much history and herstory and so much power and actually resistance to capitalism from way back before there were the same actually laws, but just cloaked in a different way against poor people. So there was a whole movement that was actually that which Uncle Francis is part of. Today he's on to tell us a little bit about a beautiful group of relatives who are really similar to homefulness, but they're on the occupied shores of Hawaii, and they're run by a beautiful sister, Twinkle, who transitioned to her spirit journey last year. But tell us the proper way to say that, Hawaiian brother, Uncle Francis. How we say the name of their movement.
Oh, their place, Pu'uhonua.
All right.
It's Hawaiian for a place of refuge. Back in the ancient days, if you got in trouble with someone, or even if it was the high chief, you could, if you could get to the Pu'uhonua, you could stay there freely and nobody could touch you. And then you had time to work out the issue and the problem. Even the high priest couldn't come and get you, and the high priest had a lot of power back in them days.
That's great. And so that's the name of her beautiful refuge.
Yes.
And it's for houseless relatives in Hawaii. Tell us how they got back, or they took back that land.
Well, at the moment, there are two of those pu'uhonuas that were established, such as Twinkle did, Twinkle Borge. Originally, it was just a homeless camp, unorganized, just like any homeless camp anywhere in the United States. Had a lot of issues, and Twinkle came along, and she, the way I see it, I never met Twinkle personally. The last time I was in Hawaii, I went down to the Makaha where that encampment was. I actually was considering taking up residence there because I was then considering permanently moving back to Hawaii. But every time I get on that island, I just get claustrophobic and I have to leave. A lot of sad memories there for me. So I didn't see her till I talked to some people, and I understood what was going on there because I had already watched several good documentary videos, not by any professionals, but like a lot of people that do YouTube, good quality YouTube videos, documentaries. I spoke with some other folks there, and I had mentioned homefulness here, and I said, when I'm back in California, I'm at homefulness. I call that place my pu'uhonua, my personal pu'uhonua, my place of refuge. Oh, because every time I came, until I took up residence here, every time I came here, I felt that I had my battery, so to speak, recharged, and I got to see some of my old friends.
I see.
Now, let me get, a lot of people will ask, what is a hobo? So I'll define it for you.
Yeah, tell us, what is a
Okay.
hobo?
A hobo is wanders and works, okay? And then there's hobos, tramps, and bums. A hobo wanders and works, but between jobs, he likes long vacations. And a tramp dreams and travels, wanders and dreams. I guess, and a bum just wanders and drinks.
Or wanders and
That's-
lays
that's-
around.
That's how us hobos define it.
I love
But
it.
truly, no one really knows where the term hobo comes from. Even some sociologists tried to find out, but never could. But primarily, it started after the Civil War, and the veterans got on the trains and headed west of where the Transcontinental Railroad was built, and that's how it started. I
Wow.
took it up. Yeah, a lot of people that get into that life, they're running away from some tragedy in their own lives, mostly divorces or alcoholism or something like that. In my case, I was a divorce that drove me. I just wanted to check out of society. I didn't want to have anything more to do with it. So 15 years, I had no ID. I traveled with no ID, no bank account, nothing. I didn't exist pretty much. When you get on a train, nobody knows you're there, and you're just all alone in the world. Anyway, that's the end of that. Back to Twinkle. Well, Twinkle had been homeless for a good long time, and she come to the encampment. She took up residence there, and I guess she had to me, I said, yeah, she had a vision of some sort, and began to organize the thing, and decided that this homeless camp would only be a way stop until permanent housing, and that was her vision.
Mm.
And she began to work toward that, and organized the camp to where she had gotten organized so that the families with children were in one area, and each I guess I don't know how you call them. There were areas that each area was had an overseer. It was called a captain. All issues that happened there was first dealt with that captain, and then might be brought to the sort of like here elephant meeting, you know. The camp was in I guess you could call it a small town of Makaha. Makaha is there's Makaha, Waianae, and Nanakuli, three small towns there, and it's a Hawaiian stronghold. Waianae is the homes there are Hawaiian homestead land. That's a bullshit program that's controlled by the state. At the overthrow of Hawaii, when the throne was overthrown, Queen Lulukalani was imprisoned for, I guess, or under house arrest. The Hawaiian government it still owned land. There was two types of land. Two major types of land was the land of the monarch, the king, and that family, the ruling family, and there was what's called government land that was a little bit different. There are two different categories of land, and then I don't know which part was the monarchy land or the government land. A good portion of that was set aside for the Hawaiian people to apply for homestead lots.
Mm.
But there was a lot of corruption in that. In fact, my grandfather was part of that corruption. He bribed somebody for his homestead draw application, supposedly. Then the allotments were picked by lottery. Name goes in a barrel, you know, and they pick a card. And there was some BS going on there, some bribery and all that. So they canceled it for a long time. My grandfather never got the homestead thing. But now, and then it was that land was put under the management of the Hawaii Homes Commission or something like that, some state organization. And primarily what they did was that a lot of that land, they leased it out commercially, long-term leases, 99-year leases or 50-year leases, to commercial entities in order to generate income that never went to the Hawaiian people.
Right.
Now, and then the United States government decided who was to be Hawaiian, and they said anybody 50% quantum blood is a Hawaiian. Of course, they did that because eventually there would be no more Hawaiians. There are very few Hawaiians today that are 50% quantum blood. So that was another scam put onto the Hawaiians. However, when you make people die, they might make an application when they're old enough, eligible to make that application, and they stay on that waiting list 20, 30 years sometimes, and they die before the name even comes up, So that's the controversy there. Well, Twinkle, now she had there was another similar situation that happened over on the north shore of the island, windward side of the island, in Waimanalo. Waimanalo is another stronghold of Hawaii, mostly all Hawaiians there. This group of homeless people started camping out at Makapu Beach Park, and they wouldn't go. They run them off a few times like we do all here, sweeps. But eventually, the guy that was running that was Bumpy Kanahele, and I knew him. I met him when they first started out. Eventually, with the stubbornness of Bumpy and his crowd, and the support of the Waimanalo people, you go down to Waimanalo, you see a lot of signs that declaring this is Hawaiian land. I mean, they don't fool around there. A lot of Howley's visitors go to Waimanalo and they act like they act stupid and they get in trouble.
Okay.
Because they say, "Oh, this is Hawaii. I'm a citizen. I can do what I want, like what I do at home." And they come down to a place like Waimanalo and they find out you can't do that there. And you get set straight real quick. Sometimes you get hurt,
Right.
There's places in Hawaii you go, you want to surf, you go to like Makaha. They got some good surfing there, at times. Yeah, there's a tradition and a culture about how you go do that. If you white boy come from California, you think you're just going to hot dog through the waves, you're going to get in trouble.
Okay.
You got to respect the people.
Oh my
And
God.
a lot of people come to Hawaii, they don't respect the Hawaiians. They think that Hawaiians are just, they shouldn't be there, just like the African Americans here, the Mexicans,
Right.
Heck, California used to be Mexican territory, in the United States in 1846, stolen.
Yeah.
Trumped up war with Mexico. They didn't have much of a military, and they just, stole the land. That's the way I see it. So Twinkle and Bumpy, they stuck with the plan. They had their vision. They didn't waver from that. They just kept their eye on the prize, as they say, And in Bumpy's situation, the state just got tired of dealing with those hardhead, knucklehead Hawaiians, So they finally broke down and gave them 45 acres up, a really nice location.
Nice.
All right. Now, Bumpy people and Twinkle people, a little bit different. Twinkle was, her vision was just getting people into housing. Bumpy's vision was to get people into housing, but in the Hawaiian way. So, Pu'uhonua Waimanalo is much more traditional in traditional ways they do it. They encouraging the planting. The first thing they got to do is plant a taro, kala. And they do that. And now Waimanalo, the word Waimanalo means good drinking water. And they have that source, and that's really important. If you ever take notice, a lot of place names, a lot of names like Waikiki, Waimanalo, Waianae, you see that first read of Y. Y in Hawaiian is water. Now you live in an island environment, water becomes very precious. And the ancient Hawaiian had a lot of water canals, irrigation systems, and that was stolen by the white man when they came to there to grow sugar. Like sugar needs a lot of water. So they abuse that. But the Hawaiians, the first thing they do, they restore the water system, you
Mm.
know. And then the Bumpy's place, Waimanalo people, they're doing it in a more traditional Hawaiian way. Whereas Twinkle also, and they do schooling there, just like you do here. But I don't know that her like I said, her emphasis, her division was to get people housed. Finally, they got enough money together to buy 20 acres of land. Twinkle did, and they are building traditional, frame houses, building just like we all did here,
Right.
conventional housing, and they're tiny homes,
Mm.
very simple tiny homes like we're trying to do in Hopefulness too. So that's the way that direction we went that direction.
Wow.
Now Makaha is kind of a lot of howlies live there. It's kind of there's Makaha Marina, and it's that sort of like Pukai Beach is very, very good beach. Pukai Bay is a very good fishing spot for Hawaiian people. So all of that, but if you look at a Google Earth picture, satellite picture of that area, Waianae, where the Hawaiians live, where the homestead land is, you see the houses are very close together. In fact, they right on the minimum. The property line is you have to have a setback of 5 feet from the property line. Well, you have one house setback exactly 5 feet from the property line. The next lot exactly 5. So there's only 10 feet between houses,
Right.
and almost every house property there has got fences because you're so close together. Your bedroom window is 10 feet away from the next house bedroom window. So that brings out a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of violence there
Hmm.
because of that crowdiness. But you can see the difference. Now you look at Makaha is a little bit further away. You see some larger lots.
Mm.
That's where the white people are most. A lot of white. I don't say all, but a lot.
Yeah.
Now these howlies that live in Makaha, pretty much they probably Kama'ainas. That means it's a haole that's been there a long time and has been accepted, and he honors the traditions and the language of and the customs of the Hawaiian people. Those are white Kama'ainas. Okay, not there's some bad Kama'ainas. Don't get me wrong.
What are kamahainas?
Kama'aina? It means you've been there in Hawaii a long time.
Oh my God.
Kama'aina.
Long-time resident.
Yeah, long time resident. In fact, there's one guy that does TV news guy, and he's haole, but he knows the custom. I think he even speaks the language.
Wow.
I mean, so that a lot of white people, tourists, white howlies. I'm going to use the term haole, more easy for me. They come to Hawaii, they stay a long time, they never really integrate themselves or infuse themselves into the culture. And they live in their exclusive places like Kahala,
Yeah.
Wailai Kahala. Those were the expensive houses,
Yeah,
$1
yeah,
million
yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
Although my mother's home is a simple single wall construction, simple 3-bedroom house, small bedrooms, 1.5 bath.
Mm.
She paid, I think, including the interest and everything, I think about $30,000 for that house,
Wow.
right? Today, that same house, not much, no much improvements over the 60-year-old house. And such value for taxes is $990,000.
Damn.
That house here in Oakland would probably bring you about $250,000-$300,000.
Wow.
But in Hawaii, it's $1 million property.
Because, well, that's the thing. We're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you, Francis, Uncle Francis, warrior, hobo, scholar. So you said they had a long fight to take back that land, and in the case of Bumpy, right? But in the case of Twinkle, she actually bought it. One of the things I'm curious about is how long had she been organizing before she was able to raise that?
Yeah.
Because she obviously
I
got
don't know
some donors.
but I know the first video I saw of her was almost 7, 8, 9 years ago,
Right.
and that's when I started following her. I was encouraged by that because I'd already had that hopefulness
Right.
already. So, and many times I come here, you guys are like you know why, you know.
Right.
I think, you know, it's what, you know, like I said, I don't know her personally. I only went to that area once. Now, the land she got is not where the camp is. That's too valuable. In fact, that's state park land.
And so the first camp was actually closer to the
Right
beach.
on the beach.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I heard.
Yeah, it was. They wasn't going to give that land up to her, no matter what, no matter how much people protested.
Right.
Of course, you know, it's just the way they are.
So it's more up in the mountains.
It's up
huh?
in Waianae Valley. It's actually way
Right.
back in the valley,
That's what
which
I
is
heard.
good for them because
Yeah.
they want that isolation. Because eventually they'll get back to the cultural ways.
Oh,
Eventually they'll call it a taro patch.
oh my goodness.
That's that. Once they do that, then we could say they're home.
Ashe. We have to wrap it up, but I just wanted to say, Uncle Francis, we hope you come back for more scholarship.
Yes.
Come on now, come on.
I
Hobo correspondent,
Yeah.
PNN Hobo correspondent, Uncle Francis.
yeah.
You're listening to Poor People's Radio. You're watching Poor People's Radio on PNN KEXU 96.1 FM. A shout out to Twinkle and Puanoa, Puahona. I'm going
He's
to
only
mess it up.
54.
Okay, there you go. Only because many times the relatives from there actually connected with us and we connected with them through digital streets. And people often said there's a lot of the same values. I want to say that Twinkle reminded me of my mama. She didn't take no mess. Definitely ghetto scholar. And, you know, had that vision that Uncle Francis speaks of. And so we send our love out to y'all in the occupied islands of Hawaii. You know, that's where Mama D was actually adopted, a Hawaiian Portuguese family. So there's definitely the ancestors are talking. We're listening. We appreciate you, and we're lifting up all the ways that us poor and houseless people can create our own. How about that?
Yeah.
You know, change won't come from a savior, pimp, and institution. Change will only come from a
Poor people-led revolution.
All right. Go ahead, D.
So that's all for this broadcast of Poe People's Radio. You can follow us on Facebook, X, or Instagram at Poe Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, and Poe News Network on YouTube. You can also get this complete Poe People's Radio podcast with all the interviews and conversations, or any of our previously archived shows on Apple Music, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Oh.
Thank you, family.